The night my sister got engaged was the night I learned two truths at once. My family didn't respect me, and the woman my sister was about to marry wasn't even using her real name. They laughed when I asked the hotel manager for a quiet table, laughed like I was pretending to belong somewhere expensive. So I let them laugh, right up until the moment I walked onto the stage, took the microphone, and said, "Welcome to my hotel." Then I looked straight at the bride-to-be, and added softly, "And welcome back, Chloe, or should I say, Camille. I'm Kira." And my sister Mia always believed life was a performance and that she was meant to be center stage, even when we were kids. She had this effortless way of making people watch her. Teachers called it confidence. My mother called it star power. And my father, before everything fell apart, used to say, "Mia can sell sunshine to someone who lives in the rain." I was the rain. Not in a bitter way, at least not back then. I was just quiet. I liked lists, details, the kind of life you can control with clean lines and clear answers. Mia liked sparkles, surprises, and attention. So when Mia told us she was getting engaged, I expected the usual Mia level production. What I didn't expect was the location. The Marrow Hotel, she said, eyes shining like she'd just won a prize. They're letting Chloe do the engagement dinner in their ballroom. The Marrow wasn't just a hotel. It was the kind of place people whispered about: historic chandeliers, velvet lounges, a rooftop garden that looked like a movie scene. It was a place my mother used to point to on weekend drives and say, "That's where rich people go." And that was exactly why she was glowing. Because to my mother, Mia's engagement at the Marrow meant Mia had made it. To me, it meant something else entirely. I stared at the invitation in my hands, thick paper, gold embossing, Mia's name beside Chloe Hart. Chloe. Mia, single quotes, as fiancée, a woman Mia claimed to have met at a charity gala, who worked in global consulting, who wore quiet luxury like she'd been born draped in it. A woman I'd only met twice. Both times, Chloe's smile had been perfect, and her eyes had been blank, like she was always calculating the angle of the room. Still, I told myself I was being paranoid. I'd been called that before. Overthinking, too serious. You always assume the worst. It wasn't that I assumed the worst, it was that I noticed what other people skipped, and lately, Chloe had been giving me a lot to notice. The night of the engagement, I arrived early, partly because I hate being late, and partly because my stomach was tight with something I couldn't name. The Marrow's lobby smelled like citrus and polished wood. Staff moved like dancers, smooth, quiet, trained. The chandeliers above looked like frozen waterfalls. At the entrance to the ballroom, a hostess checked my name. "Kira Lawson," I said, offering my invitation. She smiled politely. "Right this way, Ms. Lawson." Behind me, I heard a familiar voice drip with laughter. "Well, look who managed to find the place." I turned to see my cousin Sabrina, dressed like she'd swallowed a fashion magazine. Beside her was my mother, Elaine, wearing pearls and pride. My mother's eyes scanned me from head to toe. My simple black dress, my neat hair, my small purse. "You didn't wear the blue one?" she asked, like I'd committed a crime. "This is the Marrow, Kira, not a staff meeting." Sabrina snorted. "She's probably hoping someone mistakes her for a guest and offers her champagne." My cheeks heated, but I held my expression steady. "I'm a guest," I said calmly. My mother leaned in, voice soft but sharp. "Don't start. Tonight is Mia's night. Try not to embarrass her with that tense face you do." That tense face was what I did when I was trying not to cry. I stepped aside to let them pass, and Sabrina's perfume followed them like a warning. I told myself, "Smile, breathe, it's one night. Just get through it." Then I saw Mia. She was at the center of the room, of course, wearing a cream dress with a fitted waist, her hair in glossy waves. When she saw me, she waved, bright and fast, like she was signaling a camera. "Kira." She rushed over and kissed my cheek. "You made it." "I'm here," I said, and meant more than my presence. Mia's eyes flicked to my dress, and her smile dimmed for half a second. "Cute. Very. You." Then Chloe appeared beside her, tall, elegant, in a dark green dress that made her look like she belonged in a private club. "Hello again," Chloe said, and took my hand like she was doing me a favor. "You look comfortable." Comfortable. The word landed like a pat on the head. Behind Chloe, her friends hovered, glossy people who seemed to laugh without ever wrinkling their foreheads. Mia's voice lifted. "Everyone, this is my sister, Kira." One of Chloe's friends, Dessa, I remembered, tilted her head. "Oh, the one who works in accounting. My mother appeared at Mia's shoulder instantly. She's in compliance, she corrected, but her tone made it sound like hall monitor. Sabrina laughed. Basically, she tells people what they can't do. Chloe's lips curved. That must be satisfying for you. The room around us felt suddenly too bright, too loud, too full. I smiled anyway. It can be. Chloe's gaze held mine just a second too long, then she turned away, like I'd been categorized and filed. Dinner began with speeches, clinking glasses, and Mia soaking up every second like sunlight. I sat at a table near the side, watching the room with the same quiet habit I'd always had, scanning faces, body language, patterns, and that's when I noticed the first crack. Chloe received congratulations with ease, but she avoided certain details. When someone asked where she grew up, she answered, everywhere, with a laugh that didn't reach her eyes. When someone asked what company she consulted for, she said, a private firm, and immediately redirected the conversation. And when Mia's childhood friend Rachel joked, we need to see baby pictures, Chloe's jaw tightened just a flicker before. She smiled again. I'd seen that flicker before, in fraud interviews, in training videos, in the moments right before someone lies. I tried to shake it off. It's her engagement. Don't be that person. But then I noticed something else. Chloe's phone lit up on the table. A notification banner flashed so quickly it was almost nothing. But my eyes caught it. A name, Camille D, and a message preview. They're still asking questions. My fingers went cold around my water glass. Camille. Chloe's name was Chloe Hart. Unless it wasn't. I sat very still, trying to slow the thud of my heart. I told myself it could be a contact name, a friend, a client, but the feeling didn't leave. It grew teeth. I excused myself and walked toward the hallway outside the ballroom, my heels quiet on the carpet. I wasn't heading to the bathroom, not really. I was heading to confirm what my instincts were already screaming. Near the concierge desk, a small business center glowed softly, computers for guests, printers, privacy screens. I approached the front desk instead, keeping my voice low. Hi, I said to the concierge. A calm older man with silver hair and a name tag that read Graham. I'm having trouble with something, and I need a quick favor. His smile was professional. Of course, ma'am. I hesitated only a second. Is there any way to check a guest name against an internal booking list, like, for security? Graham's eyes sharpened slightly. For which guest? I swallowed. Chloe Hart. He paused. Then, politely, I'm sorry, Ms. Kira Lawson. His expression changed. Not dramatically, not like in movies. Just a subtle shift. Recognition. Respect. Double quotes. Miss Lawson. He said carefully, would you like to step into the office for a moment? My pulse pounded. I followed him through a side door into a small, elegant office. Graham closed it gently. Are you all right? He asked. I stared at him, confused. Yes. Why? He drew in a slow breath. Because the only reason I know your name is. He stopped, choosing his words. We received your updated signature authorization this morning. My mouth went dry. I hadn't updated anything. Not personally, not today, but someone had. Graham went to a file drawer, pulled out a folder, and slid a page across the desk. The header read, The Marrow Hotel Ownership, Trust. My name sat there in crisp print. Kira Lawson. I stared, the words not quite landing. Graham's voice softened. Ms. Lawson, you are listed as the primary beneficiary and acting owner representative. For a second, the room spun. My father's face flashed in my mind-tired eyes, gentle hands, the way he'd said, years ago, if anything happens, you'll be protected. He'd died in a car accident when I was 22. Afterward, my mother handled everything, the legal paperwork, the estate, the adult stuff, as she called it, while I was drowning in grief. She told me there wasn't much debt, she said. We're lucky we even kept the house. I believed her, because I wanted to believe my mother wouldn't lie to me about my father. My voice came out thin. This is real. Graham nodded. Yes. The trust has been active, quietly, for several years. My hands trembled. So my mother knew, I whispered. Graham didn't answer. He didn't have to. A memory hit me, Mia's smug tone when she announced the morrow there, letting Chloe do it there, letting like the hotel was doing them a favor. Like Mia was borrowing power that never belonged to her. I gripped the paper, anger blooming hot under my ribs. Then I remembered why I'd come in the first place. I steadied myself. Graham, I need to check something else. The name Chloe Hart. Is she booked under that name? Graham's eyes cooled. One moment. He tapped on his computer. The keys quiet. Then he froze. His gaze lifted to mine, careful and alert. Ms. Lawson, he said softly, there is no Chloe Hart on our guest list. My breath caught. He clicked again. Typed. He clicked again. Typed. There is, he continued, a Camille Devereaux, with a VIP tag, registered through a private concierge service. Camille. The name from the notification. My stomach turned. Is she here tonight? Graham's jaw tightened. Yes. I sat back, my mind racing like wheels on ice. Camille Devereaux wasn't a name you forgot, because I'd seen it before. 2 months ago, I'd been running a standard compliance sweep at my job, nothing glamorous, just cross-checking a client list for risk flags. One profile had hit a red notice database. Camille Devereaux, suspected of high-value fraud across multiple countries, several aliases, travel patterns, a face that looked different in every photo, but the same in the eyes. I'd assumed she was far away, not standing in a ballroom, smiling at my sister. My mouth tasted like metal. Graham, I said carefully, I need you to call hotel security, quietly, and I need access to the private event contract. Graham's expression became crisp, efficient. Immediately, he paused, then added, Ms. Lawson, should we contact the authorities? I swallowed hard. I could, and I probably should. But my sister's face flashed in my head, her excitement, her certainty, her belief that she'd finally found a love story worth showing off. If I called police without proof, my mother would call me jealous, Mia would call me bitter, Chloe Camille would disappear, and she would do it again to someone else. No, I said, not yet. I want to do this the right way. Graham nodded once. Understood. I went back into the ballroom like nothing had happened. That was the hardest part. Sitting down, smiling, pretending my world hadn't shifted on its axis. Mia stood up for her speech, glowing. I just want to say, she began, voice trembling with happy tears, that Chloe, my Chloe, changed my life. She made me feel seen, safe, like I could finally breathe. Applause erupted. My mother dabbed at her eyes dramatically. Sabrina clapped like she was at a concert. I looked at Chloe Camille standing beside Mia with one hand around her waist. Chloe's smile was perfect, but her eyes flicked across the room, scanning. Always scanning, like she knew every exit, like she was waiting for something. My hands curled into fists under the tablecloth. I wasn't going to let her walk away with my sister. I wasn't going to let her walk away with my family's trust, my father's legacy through Mia, because that's what this was. At Khan, and my sister was the easiest mark in the room. After dessert, Mia announced a surprise. We're doing a toast from the stage. Everyone gathered. The room moved toward the small raised platform. Chloe leaned in and whispered something to Mia, who nodded eagerly. I stood to my legs, felt steady now, not because I wasn't scared, but because anger had turned into something sharper. Clarity. Graham appeared near the edge of the room, subtle as shadow. 2 security staff stood nearby, blending in. I caught Graham's eye. He gave the smallest nod. The contract and trust documents were ready. My heart hammered as Mia pulled me toward the front. Kira, she said brightly, you should say something too. It'll be cute. My mother leaned in from the side, voice sweet as poison. Yes, Kira, give you a little speech. Try not to make it weird. Sabrina giggled. Maybe she'll lecture us about hotel etiquette. The laughter around me felt distant. Chloe watched me carefully, too carefully. I stepped onto the stage. Mia handed me the microphone with a smile, expecting some short, awkward congratulations she could laugh about later. I looked out at the faces, family, friends, strangers. And then I said the truth. Good evening, I began, voice steady. I'm Kira Lawson. Polite applause. I continued. I want to thank all of you for celebrating my sister tonight. Mia has always believed in big moments. Mia beamed. My mother smiled tightly, relieved I was behaving. Then I added, and big moments deserve the right setting. So I'm glad you're all here, at my hotel. The room stilled like someone had pressed pause. A laugh bubbled up from Sabrina like she thought it was a joke. My mother's smile froze. Mia blinked. What? I lifted the document Graham had brought, holding it up so the front row could see the header. The Marrow Hotel is owned by a trust, I said. A trust set up by my father, and I am the acting owner representative. A murmur spread through the ballroom. Confusion, disbelief, whispers. My mother's face drained of color. Mia's mouth opened, then closed. Chloe didn't move, but her eyes did. They'd right counting exits. I wasn't finished. I found out tonight, I continued, letting that hang, which means someone else in my family has known for a long time. My mother's breath came sharp, like she'd been slapped. Kara, she hissed, but the microphone caught it. People turned. Mia looked from me to our mother. Mom, my mother forced a laugh. This is inappropriate. I held up my hand. I agree. Secrets like this are inappropriate. My voice softened just enough to sound sad. I would have preferred to learn about my father's gift in private, but tonight isn't just about the hotel. I turned my gaze to Chloe. Tonight is also about the woman standing next to my sister. Chloe's smile returned, brittle. Kira, I think you've had too much to drink. I didn't blink. I work in compliance, I said, which means I verify identities, track discrepancies, and recognize patterns. Chloe's eyes narrowed. I took a slow breath, then said clearly into the mic, Chloe Hart is not your real name. A collective gasp moved through the room like wind. Mia stiffened. What are you talking about? Chloe's hand tightened on Mia's waist. This is insane. I raised my phone, screen facing the audience just enough. An email Graham had forwarded from the booking profile. I saw the name Camille Devereaux on the hotel registration, and I recognized it. Chloe's face didn't change, but her eyes went cold, like the mask had slipped internally. Even if the smile stayed glued on, my mother's voice shook. Kira, stop, I continued anyway. Camille Devereaux is an alias connected to an international fraud investigation, I said, and the reason she's been so careful with her history is because it doesn't hold up. Mia's breath hitched. Chloe laughed sharp Sutton. Mia baby, this is jealous nonsense. Your sister hates that you're happy. That was the moment Mia looked at me like I was the villain in her love story. But then something changed. Because Mia wasn't stupid, she was dramatic. She was selfish sometimes, but she wasn't stupid. And she'd just seen our mother's face panic, guilt, fear. Mia's voice cracked. Mom, did you know about the hotel? My mother swallowed, and in that silence, the truth answered. Mia's eyes flooded with betrayal. Chloe tried to steer her away. Mia, come on, let's go somewhere private. And that's when Graham stepped forward with hotel security. Ms. Devereaux, Graham said politely, we need to speak with you. Chloe's head snapped toward him. Excuse me, she said, still smooth. Graham continued, your identification does not match your registration, and we have a duty to address this immediately. Chloe's smile twitched. Then she did something that confirmed everything. She let go of Mia, not gently. She released her like an object she'd finished. Using Mia, Chloe said, voice suddenly flat. Handle your family. And she turned fast, heading toward the side exit. But security moved with trained speed, blocking her path. Chloe's eyes flashed with fury. You can't detain me, she snapped. Graham's voice stayed calm. We're not detaining you, ma'am. We're requesting verification. Chloe's gaze swept the room again. And then she did what cons always do when the room turns against them. She tried to change the story. She looked back at Mia, eyes suddenly watery. I can explain. I've been protecting you. Mia's face was crumpled with heartbreak. Protecting me from what? Chloe took a step forward, voice soft. From people like your sister, controlling, cold. She wants power. I walked down from the stage, microphone still in hand, and stood close enough that Chloe could see my expression. There's only one person here who came for power, I said quietly. And it wasn't me. Chloe's jaw clenched. Then like a switch she stopped acting. Her eyes hardened. You have no idea what you just started, she whispered. I met her stare. I know exactly what I ended. Graham nodded to security, and one of them lifted a phone, speaking into it urgently. I didn't announce it into the mic, because this wasn't about spectacle anymore. But I saw it in Graham's face. Authorities were being contacted. Now. Because now there was enough, a false identity, a verified alias, a documented attempt to flee. Chloe's shoulders tightened as if she heard the invisible handcuffs coming. And for the first time that night, she looked human. Not glamorous. Not untouchable. Just a cornered liar. The engagement party didn't end with fireworks. It ended with sobbing. Mia collapsed into a chair, trembling, while Rachel held her hand. My mother stood frozen, like a statue made of shame. And me. I felt strange, not triumphant, not giddy, just exhausted. Mia finally looked up at me, mascara streaked, voice tiny. You knew, she asked, about Chloe. I suspected, I admitted, I confirmed tonight. Mia swallowed hard. And the hotel, I stared at our mother. I didn't know, not until tonight. Mia's eyes widened slowly, and then anger hit her like a wave. She stood, turning to our mother. You let me plan my engagement here. You let me act like it was some gift from Chloe. You let me. Elaine's voice cracked. I was trying to keep things stable. After your father died, I know. Mia snapped, tears spilling again. You were keeping control. My mother's face twisted. I did what I had to. I stepped closer, voice shaking despite my effort to stay calm. You lied, I said. You told me Dad left nothing. You let me think I had no safety net, no legacy, nothing. Me think I had no safety net, no legacy, nothing. Elaine's eyes flashed defensively. You were young, I was grieving, I corrected, and you used it. Silence fell, the kind of silence that changes a family. Mia turned back to me, voice small again. Why didn't you tell me sooner? About Mom? About any of it? I exhaled, my throat tight, because every time I tried to speak, I got called dramatic, or jealous, or cold. Mia's eyes filled. I did that too. I nodded once. Yeah, you did. Mia's shoulders shook, and then she did something I didn't expect. She hugged me. Not the quick, polite Mia-hug. A real one. I'm sorry, she whispered. I'm so sorry. I closed my eyes, and for the first time that night, my anger loosened just enough to let grief through, not just grief for the engagement, grief for all the years my father's truth had been hidden, grief for the sister relationship we could have had. The weeks that followed, the story spread. Of course, people love scandal, especially when it happens under chandeliers. But behind the gossip, real changes happened. With legal support, my father's attorney, Marianne Holt, who had been waiting quietly for me to step into my role, I gained full clarity of the trust. Everything was documented. Everything was traceable. And yes, my mother had known. She didn't steal the hotel outright. She didn't own it. But she controlled access to the information, and she used it to keep me dependent. That ended. I took over responsibility for the trust and the hotel's representation, not because I wanted to play rich, but because it was my father's legacy and I refused to let anyone else weaponize it. Mia moved out of our mother's house within a month. She started therapy. She stopped performing for approval. We weren't magically healed, but we were. Honest. And honesty, I learned, is the beginning of real peace. As for Chloe Camille, she vanished from our lives, but not from consequences. I won't pretend I know every detail of what happened after authorities got involved. I only know this. People like her rely on silence, confusion, and shame. And that night I gave her none of it. Sometimes, I replay that moment in my head, standing on the stage, hearing the room go quiet, not because I enjoyed humiliating anyone, but because for the first time, I wasn't shrinking. I wasn't apologizing for existing. I wasn't letting other people define my worth. I was simply telling the truth out loud where no one could edit it. And if there's one thing I want you to take from my story, it's this. Never confuse someone's quietness with weakness. Some of us aren't loud because we don't have power. We're quiet because we're watching, learning, and waiting for the right moment. If you've ever been underestimated, mocked, or treated like you didn't matter, drop a comment and tell me what you would have done in my place. And if you want more revenge stories with twists, betrayals, and satisfying reveals, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications because the next story might hit even closer to home.